Somewhere, right now, a farmer is looking up at the same sky as a software engineer who's rushing to a meeting. One of them is counting on the rain, the other is counting on Wi Fi. Distinct worlds, same nation, same sky. Welcome to the podcast Under One Sky, where we discuss the realities, roads, and the rivers that both unite and divide India's cities and villages. I'm Pari, along with my friends Harita, Nityapriya, Gangotri, and Anish, and today we're pulling apart the layers of the rural urban divide, including the politics, migration, aspirations, and of course, the stereotypes.
Wait. Is India really developing or just urbanizing?
Guys, before we discuss this, let's understand what rural urban divide is.
The rural-urban divide refers to the gap between villages and cities in terms of living standards, job opportunities, education, healthcare, infrastructure, and access to modern facilities. This often leads to differences in lifestyle and overall development. So, rural-urban divide is a complex issue with social, economic, and political dimensions.
When people talk about India's development, the focus is almost always on urban projects. Right now, I'm staying in Bangalore, which is one of the fastest growing cities. But still, traffic jams are a daily routine, roads get flooded during rains, and the population density is going up day by day. I feel that the city was not planned to accommodate so many people. Yet, every year, more and more people are moving in from rural areas. They come because opportunities in their hometowns are way too limited. The result of this is a widening gap between villages that aren't developing fast enough and the cities that are not able to handle the population spike. So, how has migration between rural and urban areas shaped our society?
See, though a single person cannot change a whole country, we need to understand that one must bring out small changes to improve the well-being of their people. I believe young talents from these areas must stop from migrating to bring about the change they always wanted to see. After all, the future of their village lands up in a place where their existence does not at all matter, and hence this leads to an unused opportunity. It leads to leaving an aged population in the rural area with no development at all. I would say urbanization doesn't eliminate poverty, it just relocates it. For example, we need more politicians from the rural areas representing their people and their struggles.
Like you said, there should be equal political representation from both urban and rural areas, but do rural lives matter only during elections?
Yeah, that's a very valid point. Sometimes it feels like politicians remember their villages only during the elections. They show up, shake hands, go to people's houses, eat with them, promise a lot of things, and then once the results are out, they just disappear. The next time they are seen is 5 years later, asking for votes again. Meanwhile, they are living comfortably in cities, far from the problems their hotels deal with every single day. Things like proper roads, hospitals that actually work, clean water, schools, and jobs in those areas, these are the issues which are barely getting any attention once the campaign gets over. This is the exact reason why people are leaving villages. And slowly, you start to notice most of the big promises, big investments, and big projects are happening in urban areas, and the rural areas are just acting as vote banks for politicians.
Okay, but aren't we supposed to be one country and the politicians supposed to treat it as such? Are we even one country or two Indias living side by side?
According to me, we are one country united by a shared history, constitution, and democratical ideas. Yet, vast differences in wealth, education, and opportunity create two very different realities. Like, urban India races ahead with technology and global connections, while rural India still struggles with the basic needs. The privileged enjoy resources and security, while the marginalized face daily survival challenges. These parallel lives make it feel like two Indians Indias coexisting under one flag. True unity will come only when every citizen shares equal access to growth and dignity. Bridging this gap is essential for true unity and dignity.
Bridging the gap sounds good, but how do we exactly plan to achieve this?
See, the trick is to make them grow together. That means the policies that actually reach rural areas, technology that bridges the gap, and education that's equally accessible by both rural and the urban. If we get that right, maybe one day we won't even have to say rural urban divide. It'll just be India.
Hmm. Do you really think those three are the only factors? Doesn't the profession determine the divide between the urban and rural population?
See, it honestly does. We often stereotype farmers as the people from rural areas, and on the other hand, urban areas are characterized by jobs in the service and industrial sectors. In short, rural economies often rely on primary sectors like agriculture and forestry. On the other hand, urban economies are driven by the secondary and tertiary sectors such as manufacturing, technology, finance, and services. Our economy is agriculture oriented. These professions are often seasonal and heavily dependent on weather conditions, hence leading to income stability. Hence, people are here attracted for stable jobs and higher wages in the city, which encourages migration and acts as a catalyst to urban economic growth and further widens the divide between the rural and urban areas. The rural and urban populations are not separate, but I feel they are two sides of the same coin constantly influencing each other. Okay, putting aside all these economic metrics, how do you think we can analyze the non-economic metrics between the urban and rural population that actually state the well-being of the people?
That's actually an interesting question to think about because economic metrics hold a lot of importance for any country. They possess indicators like income, price, and employment level, which is very useful in the international context. But beyond these measures, also, the welfare of the citizens is determined by social, environmental, and psychological factors that the people undergo. For instance, cities offer you a reasonable standard of living and a secure job, but the highest amount of mental health challenges and pollution levels are also found in these very cities. Likewise, rural areas may not have access to basic healthcare and other facilities, but they offer you cleaner surroundings and better community bonding. So I feel that not just economic indicators, but also these other indicators need to be taken into consideration while talking about the rural urban divide.
Yes, Nitya, I completely agree with you. But would you guys ever choose to live in a village? See, personally, the idea of living in a village sounds super dreamy. Waking up to fresh air, no traffic honking in the morning. Yeah, I would totally love that.
Our views are quite different, Pari. To be honest, it would be very difficult for me to live in a village. A shift in the way of living seems impossible to me right now. I am very much used to the comfort and luxuries offered to me by the city. In reality, I feel the noise of traffic is what someone will miss after moving to villages where there is no or less noise of vehicles.
I agree with Harita. We are so used to the convenience offered in urban areas that slowing down our pace to the rural life seems almost impossible. For instance, we have groceries at our doorstep in less than 10 minutes. We find cabs at the tap of a button. We have metro networks all over the city, high speed internet wherever we go. And now imagining a life without all these facilities feels very strange. In villages, the people have time to actually stop and chat. It is not a rushed lifestyle, it's not that instant. But for us city folks, we live around calendars and deadlines. We want instant results, instant outcomes. Now, slowing down to the pace of rural life, not possible.
Yeah, just like how Harita and Nitya said, no way I can live in a village. Because I'm a person who likes to lead a private life. But in villages, even my haircut might become the talk of the town by evening. What do you think, guys?
Whatever, guys, as far as I have my phone and internet, I would love to live in village. So yeah, okay, I have one last question for you guys. Do you see any hope for equality between rural and urban in the next few years?
That question seems very vague at this point of time. See, I wouldn't say that rural urban divide can never be bridged because the government is taking sincere efforts to bridge this divide. For example, they are providing a lot of care and impetus to self help groups. They are setting up institutions like regional rural banks, cottage industries, and NABARD so that the people in the rural areas have equal access to finance as those in urban areas. So I would say that bridging the gap doesn't seem impossible, but it's also not very achievable.
Yes, like Nitya said, I think that there's definitely hope. But let's be real, guys. It's not gonna happen in just a few years, right? Rural development is like slow cooking. It needs a lot of patience, steady effort, and the right ingredients. Urban growth, on the other hand, it's like an air fryer quick, flashy, and ready in minutes, but it steals the spotlight while the slow cooker quietly works in the background.
Yeah, now I have the answer to my question. Progress is seen in both places. Urbanization is faster than development. Also, the urbanization is given more limelight than rural development.
That's all from us today. Thanks for listening, and remember, whether it's Wi Fi or drawing water from a well, we're all sharing the same sky.